Hi everyone, this is Terry Wurzbacher from yourdoctorsaidwhatblog.com. I'm going to give you some tips for improving your visit to the doctor. Wouldn't you like that? I think everybody would. All I hear day after day when people talk about their doctor is how many problems they have with them. So today, in this version of our little story, we're going to talk about why there are so many problems with doctor-patient communication. And as you know, I'm a physician, so I have both sides of the story to present to you. I've also been a patient many times. Time is limited. When you're the patient, you're in there and you're only concerned about yourself. You only see the little world that's around yourself. The doctor, however, has many patients that are scheduled. It really isn't always an insurance issue. I'm an ER doctor, for instance, and we don't have anything to do with insurance when people come in the ER. And they don't call up and make an appointment, so 20 people could show up at one time. Each person only cares about himself, not the other 19. The doctor has to care about those 20 people that showed up all at once and has gone and taken care of other patients that are already in the ER. In a regular doctor's office, things are similar. People show up and some people take more time. You can't just assume that everybody's going to have the exact same problem and be able to get that fixed in one particular moment. I think I've gone on a lot about that, but I think it's an important aspect of understanding why things are always late. You don't get in on your appointment. Why do they make appointments, etc. So that's a major problem with doctor-patient communication. If time is limited, you don't have time to get your story out. Another reason that there's problems is that doctors speak doctor language. And I watched that even with my vet. Before he realized I was a physician, he was talking all these words that most normal people don't understand. And doctors, you got to realize, they have years and years and years of education and practice, and they speak these words. When they call up another doctor to get their opinion or refer a patient, they have to use the doctor language. So you're expecting a doctor to be bilingual. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. They really ought to be. However, that's a reason that there's problems with communication. I have to put the onus on you, though, also, is you ought to ask, what the heck does that mean? All right, the third problem that exists is that patients try to figure out what's important in their story. And that's good and bad, but when they do that, because time is limited, they then say, okay, well, I'm not going to tell them this, I'm not going to tell them that, or I think that this burning that I have in my chest is just heartburn, so that's what I'm going to tell them. I'm going to tell them that it's heartburn. And that's very dangerous unless you figure out a way to get your story across concisely and in a certain order. You're liable to leave out things that are important because you're trying to deal again with this time limitation. And then another problem, but the last for today, is patients don't ask questions, and they're intimidated by the time element, they're intimidated by a lot of reasons, or they just don't think of them. They're nervous. You go in there and you're freezing, you're in this little gown, people haven't been very friendly, you just want out. You really don't care. And later when you get out and you're in the car or at home and your husband or wife asks, well, what did he say? What did he want you to do? Then you go, nuts. I should have asked this question, or I should have asked that question. And when you don't ask questions, you don't get clarification of the problems or the things that you're not sure of, whether it's with doctor language, what they want you to do, when they want you to come back. I was just on the phone with my vet, and I fortunately remembered to ask him, when do you want to see my dog back? Otherwise, it would have been, he left this thing, we ought to maybe do a urine culture some point. Well, if I'd hung up before I remembered to ask that, and I'm very glad I did remember, I wouldn't have known what to do. Then I would have had to call back. Hopefully the staff would have known, etc. And they did, but that's not, that's just a little example. In future episodes of Your Doctor Said What, I'm going to tell you how you can avoid that problem. But remember that you have to ask questions, you have to ask for clarification. In summary, you see we have time is limited, doctors speak doctor language, patients try to figure out what's important, so you put figuring out in lay terms what's important with not understanding the doctor language. You already see you've got a conflict there. And then patients don't ask questions. So I'm Terry Wurzbacher with your Doctor Said What, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you.